The OTel API for Android is Java, which is non-idiomatic for developers on Android who are used to Kotlin, especially new Android developers and future Android developers, because Java is no longer a recommended language to write Android apps with. So while folks who've been doing Android for 10 years might know Java, or they started off doing Java, somebody like Fran even has only done Kotlin. He knows Java because, syntactically school, but professionally, when you write Android apps, Kotlin is it. So the API is important to get a foothold, and to basically get a way of presenting to the audience, the intended audience, the mobile audience, Android audience, that, hey, OTel is for them. You don't have to kind of settle for something that just works, but not tailored to what you're used to using. So if it's important to kind of put our foot in the door with the Kotlin API. But more importantly, Android being able to use Java means that Android apps could use the OTel SDK, the Java SDK. However, pure Kotlin environments cannot use the Java SDK. So Kotlin multi-platform is extremely popular and powerful, and a lot of Android apps are being developed using it as a foundation to basically build platform agnostic logic that compiles and runs natively on iOS and Android. For those developers, if they want to use OTel, they basically have to have instrumentation that talks to their native layer, which is duplicate code, which is very hard to maintain, or potentially very hard to maintain. And that's not even to say that folks who want to use Kotlin, purely Kotlin, like on the back end, which is admittedly a minority use case, or other platforms that don't really have well-developed mobile optimized ecosystems like web, because you could do desktop and web with Kotlin multi-platform. So in order to have support for what is effectively a very important development path and architecture choice for Android and frankly iOS apps, mobile apps in general, having something that runs completely in Kotlin without any JVM dependencies is important. This is something that's future looking, but also really immediate. And as an aside, some implementation choices by the Java SDK in terms of how they pass around context is very backend centric. So the whole thread-based parent context passing assumes a certain execution model, which does not fit mobile. And with a Kotlin SDK, it's our chance to basically make that fit. Because even if you have the Kotlin API using a Java SDK, you still have to fight that model, because at the end of the day, it's Java SDK doing stuff. But if we have a native Kotlin SDK implementation, we could do context differently, among other things. Performance might be a concern in the future, potentially, because mobile apps have different requirements in terms of runtime performance. I think at the current scale, it's not a problem at kind of metrics, or not metrics, telemetry logging time. But the default serialization may be a little verbose for, unless we can somehow well, actually, let's not say that. We have an opportunity, if we need to optimize various layers for the mobile use case. That may not be necessary if you're running, the backend OTel thing. It also opens up our ability to do native instrumentation inside Kotlin modules inside the Kotlin layer, rather than having to always depend on something on the native layer. So you have Kotlin libraries that compile to different platforms. You can do the instrumentation right there instead of observing from the outside. in your KMP app. Which is to say, Android has gotten pretty far with the Java SDK and API, but it's as the ecosystem matures, people would want more, and we are here to anticipate that need. Because frankly, we have that need ourselves. We want to make things a little simpler for ourselves, but also for our customers. And we don't always want to expose a vendor-specific, Embrace-specific API to do that.